Well, the government says it needs more gas power stations to keep the lights on, and the Minister for Energy Security and Net Zero, Graham Stuart, is here this morning with me to discuss this. Very good morning to you, Graham.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. Going to come to that announcement in a moment. Just wondered what the mood was this morning with Lee Anderson's defection yesterday.
Well, it's a shame that Lee decided to move on. Obviously, he moved from the Labour Party to the Conservative Party. Now he's with Reform, and I wish him well. But we're determined to, focus on supporting Rishi Sunak and making sure that he, rather than Keir Starmer, is the Prime Minister after the next election. That's what the Conservative family is dedicated to, and we're going to keep focusing on that.
Do you think that it changes the calculus on when to hold the election? I mean, yesterday Richard Tice was talking about trying to entice more MPs across, particularly over the summer, closing the poll gaps over the summer. Sooner rather than later, a better strategic call now as well? Well,
there's a choice, isn't there, between there's either Keir Starmer, who we've seen flip-flops on almost everything, and can't be trusted on almost any area of policy to stick with his word, or Rishi Sunak, who takes the long-term decisions in the interests of the nation. That's the choice at the next election. A vote for anyone else, whether it's the SNP, the Liberal Democrats, or indeed Reform, simply makes it more likely that we will see Keir Starmer in number 10. Nobody should want that, because we've transformed the country for the better since 2010. We've lifted education standards, created 4 million more jobs, taken so many people out of paying tax. A Labour Party will do what it always does, which is increase unemployment, particularly harmful for the young, and it was 45% up in 2010 over what they inherited from the Conservatives last time. The country cannot afford to have Labour come in again. They'll not only risk putting the lights out, they'll risk losing jobs too, and we can't afford that.
If you were confident about all of that, then you'd indeed call the election sooner rather than later. But anyway, we could go around in circles on that. Let's talk about the announcement today. I've been through the press release a few times. What is actually being announced here? Are you committing to building a new gas power plant? If so, where, by when, how much will it cost?
Well, the review of electricity market arrangements sounds quite wonky, and it is looking at a complete rewiring of the UK energy system, which is what we're setting about. We've transformed the system from less than 7% of our electricity came from renewables in 2010. That was Labour's dire legacy, to nearly 50% today. But we're going so much further. We're rolling out more and more renewables, but in order to ensure that we keep the lights on, that we keep the economic security of the nation intact, which we will never put at risk, we may need some new gas-fired power, because around half of the existing fleet is expected to reach end of life before 2035. So between some new gas-fired power stations and the maintenance of the old ones, although they will be used less and less of the time, they're there to provide that balance when the wind doesn't blow or the sun doesn't shine.
But so the announcement today is saying we may need those, or we're going to start building. I mean, they have an incredibly long lead time to commission and build these plants. So are you doing that, or are you just sort of putting it out there?
It's a consultation, but we've said we will be looking to commission additional capacity. As I say, more than half of the existing capacity is expected to come at end of life. So whether it's refurbishment of the existing power stations or new generation, that will be delivered through something we call the capacity market. That's done well in advance. This is sending a signal to industry that building new gas-fired power stations is part of our net zero transition. It's a reputable and proper thing to do, and is entirely compatible with the decarbonisation of our electricity system, which we will deliver by 2035.
I wanted to bring up the comments that have come to light that Frank Hester, a major Tory party donor, made in a private meeting in 2019. What did you make of his comments?
Well, they were clearly reprehensible. He has apologised profusely and rightly, and tried to reach out to Diane Abbott specifically to apologise to her. It was half a decade ago. Clearly, those comments were wrong, and he is right to apologise, and I think I support him doing so.
The Conservative Party spokesperson said that Mr Hester has made clear that while he was rude, his criticism had nothing to do with the colour of her skin. Is that right?
He has been absolutely clear that although he spoke in an intemperate and rude manner... No, I know.
Read what he said. He said, it's like trying not to be racist, but you see Diane Abbott on the television and you just want to hate all black women because she's there. I don't hate all black women, but I think she should be shot. Diane Abbott needs to be shot. I mean, that is based on the colour of her skin. And
they're truly awful remarks, aren't they? So there's nothing I can say apart from to condemn them and say that he's absolutely right to apologise.
So should the Conservative Party spokesperson yesterday have said it's got nothing to do with the colour of her skin?
Well, that's clearly what he said. He used the wrong language. He was annoyed with Diane Abbott and was making a wide point. But I'm not remotely tempted to try and defend it. He shouldn't have said it. It was half a decade ago in a private meeting, but that doesn't really excuse it, and that's why he's quite right to apologise profoundly, profusely and completely, because those words are not defensible, and I'm not here today in any way to seek to defend them.
So you know what my follow-up is? Should the Tory party return the money, the many millions he's given, or are you OK to spend money that has come from him? He's only apologising because he's been caught out.
Yeah, and it's obviously, as I say, deeply regrettable. But everybody, we can't cancel anybody from participation in public life or indeed donating to parties because they said something intemperate and wrong in their past. And it's not my decision, but I do welcome those who support the Conservative Party to ensure that we have Rishi Sunak, of course, our first Hindu Prime Minister.
You welcome. We welcome. You don't have to return it. Not returning his money is something else. You're saying you welcome his money.
No, I said I welcome all those who seek to ensure that our first Hindu Prime Minister stays Prime Minister and that we don't have Keir Starmer becoming Prime Minister of this country.
So somebody else that might have said things like this in the past, you welcome their money?
I'm saying that I welcome those who contribute, and I'm not here to sit in judgment on one remark, which, however, deeply inappropriate.
Yeah, but you've said that after we've been discussing this specific point. I mean, I don't mean to sort of tie people in knots and push these things. If you can clarify, should the Conservative Party return the money?
That's not my decision to make, and clearly it's deeply regrettable that he said what he said.
OK. I mean, it's so interesting that we all point fingers between different parties and sort of scream from the rooftop when somebody else does it, and then seemingly try and find ways out from something that's wrong here. I mean, anyway, I don't know what more we can do on this particular point. So I think we should perhaps leave on that topic. Just finally, we have some original reporting from Sky today about exports of cars that were meant to be banned based on Russian sanctions. While exports of cars from Britain have fallen to zero, going to Russia, they've shot up to Azerbaijan. The numbers are pretty stark. They've gone up by 1,860%. It looks like sanctions are being evaded. Are the sanctions tough enough?
It's making sanction systems work over time is always challenging. That is why we continually seek to update our sanctions regime. Inevitably, they get gamed. It happened with Rhodesia many years ago. It's happened in almost all cases. That's why we have a rolling review of our sanctions regime in order to ensure that we do bring the maximum sanction that we can to Russia. And it's obviously regrettable that they found ways around it, but it's one of those things that happen in any sanctions regime. We seek to cause the maximum convenience we can. If you look at things like in energy, where we have put price caps on Russian sales, again, over time, that tends to be diluted and weakened, and you can watch the market prices move. That's why we seek always to renew it and make sure that we cause the maximum cost to Russia for its unprovoked, barbaric and unacceptable invasion of Ukraine.
Graham Stuart, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.